this case, our background layer is this woman on the background, and then let's go ahead and we'll put a text layer across her. So that's a simple move of layers. So we've got, in this particular case, let's go ahead and make sure this is zoomed out so we can see everything in here. We can take and move our layers however we want. Now, when we have the move tool activated up here, we can move things according to how it is on the layers palette. So let's select both of those layers together. And we did that by, we selected the first layer, then we held down the shift key and selected another layer. Now they're both selected. And what you can do is you can tell Photoshop to arrange these however you want. If, let's say, we wanted to arrange them centered, we would click on that and that would center it. We could center it from top to bottom and center the image that way. So any of the things that we do, if we move this layer, this text type down over here, for instance, and we select both of those layers again, and we say, okay, Photoshop, make that in the center on both places. So it'll put it in the center for us. If we want to do it on the right-hand side, we can do that. We can do left-hand side. This allows us to move layers around and align them however it is we want. We've got the two layers aligned, but you don't have to have them aligned. You can move them wherever you feel like it. And you can see that, let's say, for instance, in this case, we want to have the woman in front of the text. So we'll just drag that layer down below. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. So since it's a background layer and has this little lock icon, that means we're unable to move layers around it, right? We can move layers up here. So let's say, let's do another text layer. So on this particular case, now we have these layers here, and you see there's no locks on the side. So we're able to put these however we want. We can move this layer up to the top, and now it's in front of, so that glass essentially got moved up. So this layer is in front of that layer. We can move it back, and now the red text is in front of the white text. But we still can't do anything with this background layer because the background layer is locked. If you ever want to move the background layer, there's a couple of theories that I like to do. One of the ways that I like to work in Photoshop is to take and duplicate this layer. So a real shortcut to duplicating, you already know it, and that's Command J or Control J from the PC, and that'll make a new layer. If you want to get rid of a layer, you can just drag it right down here into the trash. Another way to make a new layer is to drag this down to the little plus sign, and it'll duplicate that layer. If you'd like a new empty layer, you click on the plus sign, and that brings you up to a new empty layer. So I do want to show you this real quick, because it's kind of important. An empty layer will show up as this little checkerboard. That means it's transparent, means there's nothing in that file. And there'll be times, well, you'll have an image there, but everything else is transparent. So keep that in mind as we go through. So let's get rid of this open one. We'll get rid of that. And now we have our images. Now you can see this one doesn't have a lock. So we could move this around. We could move it up to here if we wanted. And now that's above the layers text. It still doesn't solve our problem in the sense we want to have the woman in front of the text, for instance. So let's get out of this one and we'll go into another one that we've already done some of the work. As you've learned from some of the other classes of how to select, we selected her out and put her on her own empty background. And this is a transparent background, and we're able to move her around wherever we want, and we have that freedom. We also created a background. So let me show you how I did that. We'll turn that off. Came over here to New Layer, click that, and automatically, whatever layer you're on, when you click New Layer, it's going to put it just above the layer you were just working on. So what we're going to do is drag that below that layer, and we're going to come over to our Gradient tool, and let's go ahead and let's assign some colors. First, we'll go to our foreground color, and we'll make that a dark blue. And then we're going to go to our background color, and we're going to make that. So what I do sometimes when I want to get a similar color is I click on this color with the eyedropper tool. It'll turn into the eyedropper tool when we kind of hover over it. And now that shows us exactly where that color was. So if we wanted something similar but maybe lighter, we might come up over here and grab that color. And now you can see down here we have a dark blue and a light blue. So let's go to our gradient tool. And if we were to click on here, we can go to basics. We can see we have our options. This was something we did before where we went from a color to transparency. But on this one, we're just going to go from 2 different colors. So let's click on that. We're going to use the linear type of gradient. So let's see, let's go ahead and drag that down. And if you ever want to do something really straight, just hold the shift key down. Every time you hold the shift key down, then that'll be a straight type of a line. It's any kind of action that you're doing in Photoshop, the shift key creates a straight line, which is kind of handy. So we click and let it go. And so now we've got dark in the background and light on the foreground as she's walking. So that's how we create this type of a layer. So this is just a background layer, and we're going to name this blue. So when you want to name layers and I